I, Boucheron, am here to serve. Oh, what's that? No, I don't work out that often.
Boucheron is our newest Grand Hero battle unit for the Engage New Heroes banner. As the starting axe fighter for the game, Boucheron is an Axe Infantry with 48 HP, 47 attack, 48 speed, 35 defense, and 25 res. Boucheron has the classic high base HP for an axe fighter with a higher defense than res focus. He then comes into Fey with some impressive 48 base speed, and he's got his speed super boon as well. Very nice, although Boucheron has plenty of competition when it comes to Axe Infantry units. Boucheron's inheritable weapon is the Shackle Axe Plus. At start of turn and after acting, inflict -7 speed and defense, speed shackle, and defense shackle onto the closest foes and anyone within 2 spaces of that. The user gets plus high stats in combat, and they deal 20 true damage per hit, plus they will gain 15 flat DR for all enemy attacks. The Shackle weapons are an updated version of the Gladiator inheritable weapons, and we did have the Arena Axe Plus, but you had to summon for it on Gladiator Cullen. Cullen was also a Divine Code's common manual, but now Boucheron is a pure free-to-play way to get access to this weapon. Generally, I would say the Shackle weapons are pretty decent still. You can't go wrong with 20 true damage and 15 flat DR. Stat-wise, these weapons inflict speed and defense field debuffs and speed and defense in combat debuffs via Shackle. Try to inflict a couple more negative statuses, that way you can get the max -8 debuffs from both Shackle statuses. For the rest of Boucheron's base kit, he has Dragon Fang for his special. With his higher base HP, Boucheron gets Infantry Pulse 3 for team cooldown support. Last, Boucheron brings Frenzy 3 into the free-to-play pool. Frenzy is a 40% dodge DR skill, and its secondary effect is Desperation 2. You need to be under half HP, and when you initiate, you can follow up before the foe counters. Frenzy is a fairly risky dodge skill, but it's assuming your higher speed unit is going to take decent counterattack damage in the first round of combat. For later fights, you can then just try to go for the Desperation 2 tap, and Shackle Axe's debuffs should help with that endeavor. They also should help with dodge's speed checking, plus stacking percent DR with flat DR is always ideal. Nothing too crazy, but a fun little base kit. If you want to merge up Boucheron, the neutral nature will give him +1 HP, attack, and speed. That's totally fine, but if you use trait fruits, you can get that speed super boon for an extra 3 speed. Speed battles are always finicky, but any extra points could make a difference. Now, Boucheron is a fairly decent Grand Hero bat unit as far as non-unique weapon holders go. However, there are a ton of fast Axe Infantry to choose from. From just heroic Grail options, Ninja Male Shez is a Gen 10 speedy boy, although instead of investing HP, Shez puts his points into defense. With Dragon Flowers, Spring and Long Ku is a solid option, and he puts some defensive points into res. Valentine's Effie is very similar to Boucheron, although her and Fallen Linus do focus more hard on attack. After all of these guys, you have that trio of Ninja Shamir, Ninja Hana, and Pirate Lithis. Boucheron certainly isn't the first to have some nice offensive stats. Just to talk about some other notable Axe Infantry, Garcia was the earlier Gen 10 Axe Fighter with lower speed but higher HP and defense. If you want a no-speed Axe unit, then Summer to Do is the most min-maxed for that. He definitely could hit the 30 speed for Patience with some merges, and he's got some impressive defense and res. Now onto the D-mode side, Boucheron does face less competition, but Boyd and Casper are still relatively fast Axe Infantry with higher attack. If you wanted a higher res unit, Female Shez fills that role. There were also some other decently fast units, but I always like to compare new units with Raven. With max investment, including his resplendent outfit, Raven does hold up decently well for a launch unit. All in all, Boucheron should be a very viable merge project if you're in the mood for an Axe Infantry. There is a lot of competition though that some players may already have built up instead. On to builds, Boucheron can use Shackle Axe's speed debuffs to help trigger Frenzy's dodge damage reduction. Since we have Desperation, and we're not expecting Boucheron to tank everything, you could try the old Fury plus Desperation setup. Throw in Flashing or Heavy Blade, and we have a classic initiation build. Now to get into attack range, you could use Odd or even Tempest as Sacred Seals, or you could try Assault Troop from Raphael. You could also use Fury as a Sacred Seal instead, plus you can just run any attack and speed boosters without the recoil damage. If you don't want to play around the super low HP for Desperation, Boucheron could just use Velocity 3 for Null Guard to consistently charge his special. Infantry Pulse 3 will only help allies, so you could instead use other Sacred Seals like Wrath or Times Pulse for more cooldown. Now if you want some self-buffs, Boucheron could use the Old C skills. He could also run No Follow-Up as a Sacred Seal or a B skill. That's a nice perk for any speedy unit to use against these slower foes. From the selection of free ephemera and normal divine codes common manuals, there are quite a lot of options for Boucheron. This month, Diamant has Times Pulse 4, but earlier this year, we also got Spring Fram, who can upgrade Boucheron to Infantry Pulse 4 instead. She can also pass on Spurn 4 if you want a better dodge skill. Some other nice ephemeras include Felix's Kit, Flash Sparrow from Young Male Robin, and Halloween Tamara's selection of skills. For the older Norma 6 Divine Codes group, Petra has Desperation 4 if you want to mess around with that. That works at 100% HP instead of 50% HP. Now, for some other cheap common manuals, you could use Johanna Malice for Gust and Spiked Wall. Edward has a Godlike Reflexes plus Buffer build, although Breath of Life 4 is quite good too. For the more expensive Norma 6 common manuals, Johanna Ike has Lagu's Loyalty, and Attuned Bridget has Perfect Attack and Speed for no follow-up. She also has Creation Pulse, which technically can be triggered by Shackle Axe, and Temple Echo is a nice skill as well. For the Norma 7 section, Boucheron could get no follow-up from Elfin or Ignatz. If you want to go from a regular percent DR dodge to more flat DR, then you could also use Harrowing Call from Stefan. He also has Gust and Brutal Tempest. That can be a very nice decent kit to work with that isn't too expensive. Now, speaking of the more premium common manuals, they have things like Arch Rival or Comet. Attuned Alm has Speed Taker, which may help inherit the new Taker Burst speed skills. Definitely a consideration. As for Attuned Roma, Tumultuous Echo for 3 movement and Kanto is a great ability. He also has Duelist Blow and Tag and Speed Faith. If you like Boucheron a lot and you do have orbs, now is the perfect time to summon for fodder. On the current banners, we have 4 Speedy Infantry units, Summer Sharena, Harmonic Fitness Violet, Rearmed Female Allir, and Aided Male Allir. They all have multiple new skills Boucheron can utilize. For example, Rearmed Allir's kit of Swift Life, Taker Burst, and Thunder Spectre is a pretty decent aggressive setup. Boucheron would get more attack and speed, cooldown, no follow-up, 3 movement, and Kanto. Ideally, you then want to get a 40% dare special like Shatter Slash, Arch Rival, or Comet. Gust could also work too, but it only affects 1 attack, and you may need to charge it before getting hit. Now, there are many variations on similar types of setups here. For example, you could use Burst of Thunder with Swift Spectre. Boucheron could run No Pulse Follow, Osby Wave 4, or just the No Follow-up Sacred Seal instead of the Perfect A skills. If you want Tempo, then Duelist Blow has that with lots of flat DR. The Echo version of Tempo has DR Piercing. Dual Support can give Tempo to allies, and then there's also the Tempo Sacred Seals. Since he is pretty fast, potent skills like Potent Finish, the Potent 3 Sacred Seal, or Poison Echo can be fun for Boucheron. Cooldown wise, Infantry have so many skills including Execution Breath, Attack and Speed Fade, Times Pulse, or Infantry Pulse. You could also use Shackle Axe with Favor for a cooldown and buffing build setup. A new way to buff the team can be with those Tenet Hone skills. On that topic, the Arcane Cake Axe grants plus 6 defensive res, empathy, and buff neutralization. Attack and Speed Tenet Hone will grant attack and speed buffs with debuff neutralization. All of these are going to get passed to your teammates as well, so it's a very nice stat advantage package. To further lean into the stat stacking build, Boucheron could use D bonus Doubler, or you could of course use Rise Above. Parap is a nice general speed skill, but Taker Burst can be more aggressive, while Counter Do can work for a distant counter type set. Since Arcane Cake neutralizes field buffs, you could also just use Null Sea Void instead. Now for other weapons, Boucheron could use the Ninja Chakrams for brave attacks. Getting some quad attacks would be fun, especially if you want to go with the new Thunder Spectre skills. They are a fully selfish weapon, but free-to-play brave attack access with decent true damage and flat DR is really good, so kinda understandable. So, should you 5-star Boucheron? Well, he does have good offensive stats, and his defensive spread is not out of the ordinary for a speedy melee unit. Boucheron is just investing in HP more than defensive res. Now, Boucheron does have a good inheritable weapon with Shackle Axe, and he will bring Frenzy through to the free-to-play pool. Sadly, Frenzy does not even have a modern upgrade, so yeah, it's a fun budget skill, but not that useful for inheriting. As we've seen, Boucheron isn't the only fast Axe Infantry around, plus Ninja Melchez is a Gen 10 option himself. The other thing to note is that we're probably about to start Gen 11 BST next month, come the CYL banner. Axe Infantry aren't the rarest free-to-play units, but I guess it should be noted that our total pool of new heroic rare units has been reduced drastically in the past year. It could be a while before we see a Gen 11 Axe fight. Now, Boucheron definitely isn't a must-use or anything, but he'll be a totally fine merge project if you want a speedy unit. As mentioned, there are no shortage of build options for this class type. There are literally 4 brand new units on the current banners you could try to borrow some skills from. That's all I have to say about Boucheron. Go beat his Grand Hero battle map. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.